Yes, Wolf sets him up. Yes, Huni gives him the assist. But Faker's Shockwave found them all. What's up, everybody? I'm CaptainFlowers, and today I'm going to be watching and ranking some of the most iconic plays of all time from LoL Esports, sourced and sent in by you, the fans. So let's waste no more time with the pleasantries and get right into the plays.
Keep mid lane alive because top and him has been killed, and they even got the pick off on Bang.
Rox doesn't actually have to stop pushing right now. They can delay the recalls. The arrows. Look at the arrow. Get teleport.
He's gonna stop it. He's stopped Duke, which means they can push. It's now on Wolf. It's a teleport coming in for Smeb and Curl. How much more can be done?
The arrow. The 2016 arrow from all the way downtown. You can watch this thing traveling across the map, and everybody loses their mind because it was such a sick shot. Ash's arrow is one of the most iconic abilities in all of League of Legends. Everybody knows Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and along with that, everybody has whiffed about 9,000 Enchanted Crystal Arrows for anybody that's got any amount of playtime on Ashe. You know how difficult those cross-map shots are, right? Like, most of the time when you see one of those hit, it's because he just teleported or he just got himself back into base, he bought or whatever, you fire one down mid lane in a straight shot. But to hit that arrow at that angle, at that moment in the game, that's one of those that absolutely, that one's gonna live on forever. I am absolutely putting that one in A tier for the arrow. Yeah, this one is absolutely going in A tier. A for arrow, A for across the map, A for awesome, man. I just absolutely love this play. It's one of my personal favorites. As a commentator, like, you can feel the excitement in the guys' voices too when they're watching and reacting to this. Like, the arrow, the arrow, the arrow. It's a moment. I love it. So I would say if I had to pick my top 3 series of all time, it would be the most recent World Final with T1 versus DRX. That's number 1. Number 2 would be SKT versus Rox, and then number 3 I think would be KT versus IG, the base race quarterfinals 2018 Worlds. Those would probably be my top 3.
킬 견적 최대한 많이 맞출 수 있게끔 천천히 궁을 쓰 바로바로 안 쓰거든요.
네. 옆라인으로 끌어서 볼까? 여기 스레시 있어요. 가긴 어디를 가 새끼야.
Oh man, I forgot what League of Legends, I forgot that this is what League used to look like, right? This is actual small indie game graphics from back in the day. Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. Boom! Just immediately gets him, man. Madlife made support iconic. Like, cause this is back in the day too. Like, when we're talking about old school League of Legends, one thing that you think about is, for those of you, by the way, who are watching this who never played back in the old days of League of Legends, support was a ward bot. That's all you did. There didn't used to be like limits on the amount of wards you could place. Supports would pretty much buy boots. They would have an Oracle's Elixir, and they would just have a million wards. And so a lot of times, it was a very underappreciated role. You were essentially a loot pinata. If anybody with any money got near you at all, it just felt like they would, you know, beat you up, and then you didn't really have a whole lot to say about it. And so Madlife comes along, and he's just this guy who can read people like a book. He has the attitude and the swagger to just know, yeah, I can do this. I'm gonna make this happen. I'm just gonna flash over this wall. Let's go back to the start. Because they're sieging up at the turret. Everything's going fine. Okay, TF shows up. He's joining in. Okay, Kennen gets stunned. But notice, Madlife, he throws out the lantern, but he's like, okay, I see where he's going. Just immediately flashes over and throws that hook. Especially back then, not a lot of people are going to make that play. Not a lot of people have the confidence. Not a lot of people have the faith to make that play like he did. And it just sort of set him apart as, yeah, this guy knows he can hit you, and he's gonna hit you. I'm gonna rate this one. I'm giving him an S for swag, because that's exactly what you have to just flash over the wall, take your skill shot, which has a wind-up time, and throw it, max range almost, and hit the dude that's running away from the rest of your team. If he misses that hook, bye-bye, Kennen. See you later, buddy. But he flashes the wall, he hits it. It's just absolute, the guy's got swagger, man. It's so cool. It's so cool. I like Blitz because he's, for what it's worth, he's easier. Blitz literally only has to pull. right? That's Blitzcrank's entire identity. With Thresh, you gotta be throwing lanterns to people, you gotta be flaying guys the right way, you gotta put your box in the right spot. With Pyke, you got to make sure you're lining up your stuns. You've got to be using your invisibility properly, weaving in and out with camouflage. Blitzcrank has a pull, and I walk up and I shoot my hook. And if I hit it, I'm a hero. If I miss it, I'm a 0. But that's all the responsibility that is there on me. I'm only a Skarner player. Lots of people know that. So I'm trying to keep my job simple whenever I'm not on Skarner. So it's a blitz angle for me every time.
But it's definitely impactful for this game.
And the fact is that we talked about who would maybe get that as Lee Sin is going to go in the other towards Yellow Pete. He gets knocked up. Kenneth going to go into the middle, but Yellow Pete will die. Madlife's going to fall down as well. Edward going very, very low. Gets a pull up in the end, but they're ripping through the rest of them. Double kills coming out for Jai. And then
When Insec comes in behind Yellow Pete, cues in, wards back, kicks in. That is so hard to execute.
So I think one of the most important things to remember, like, because again, this is back when League of Legends legitimately was a small indie game, is people had not seen this stuff before, right? Like this was a brand new type of thing. And so when you've got guys like Insec making these moves, he goes in, boom, that's not something that's expected. In modern day League of Legends, if you can't do the Insec, then why are you playing Lee Sin? Like, pick another champion. Back then, what? Everybody just loses their mind seeing this. I mean, the play is literally named after him. There are other plays, similar moves that champions can do, like, you know, people say when Azir goes in and like dives into the enemy team, flashes behind him and shuffles him, people call that the Azir sec. It's literally like his name became synonymous with this iconic thing of throwing yourself into the enemy team, flashing behind to displace them, and knocking the guy back in. This was like, anybody that's ever played Lee knows the Insec. Anybody that is any good at Lee knows how to do it. And this is the guy that showed everyone, oh yeah, by the way, this is something you can do with the character. Before that, it just wasn't on people's minds. They're like, oh yeah, if you get a decent angle, you can kick the guy. But then he's like, no, you can use the whole kit like this, Sonic Wave, Resonating Strike, immediately place the ward and safeguard to it, kick the dude. It's just, that one's, I'm telling you right now, that one's going in Skarner tier. That one's going in Skarner tier because it defined the jungle in a way that the jungle had not been defined before. After Insect shows the world how Lee Sin is played, how Lee Sin can find angles and do this champion trigonometry to just knock you backwards at the right moment, all of a sudden there was a whole new bunch of stuff you had to be watching out for anytime you were up against Lee. Like, everybody was like, okay, I gotta learn how to do this now. And it really did take what has become one of the most iconic champions in League of Legends, period. I mean, Lee Sin's a very popular champion. Lots of players love him. He's very skill expressive. And this is the Lee Sin move.
Keeping them delayed, they've got 2 inhibitors down, and they are just going to pile straight up towards those super minions in the base. You can see there's coming in there. Peke is desperately on towards the Nexus. Kevin is going to be able to get him towards him. He's trying to do it, but meanwhile, they're in the base. Yellow Star's trying to defend them in the base. Peke is trying to take the Nexus down. Is anyone going to be able to deal with this one? Catches him with another axe. He's very low. They're pushing on the Nexus to him. Peke's back to get it. I do not believe it. Peke's stuck in there.
The back door. This is another one of those ones, like the Insec, where, you know, it got named after him for the rest of time. Like, anytime you're seeing somebody do something like this in one of your solo queue games, there's always somebody on all chat who's going to be saying, xPeke, xPeke, xPeke. And it's one of those moments where if you're the team playing against it, it is the most frustrating way to lose. But if you are the team playing it, it feels like you just snatched victory from the jaws of defeat, right? Like, this is, you're sending in the lone man, the saboteur. Like, you're on a Metal Gear Solid, like it's your Solid Snake behind enemy lines, having to creep back like a one-man secret operation, getting in there and getting the job done. And especially on a champion like Kassadin, where you have all of that mobility and you have the ability to outmaneuver your opponents and jump around to the different sides of the Nexus and keep that DPS just long enough to get the hit. Man, the xPeke backdoor, that one's iconic. We're gonna put that one in A tier because the only thing you can say when you're losing to just a backdoor like that is you just sit back like, ah! That's the only thing you feel when you're playing against that, because you know you can't stop it, and this dude is just taking the Nexus. That one, I'm disappointed with myself that I didn't think of that when I was thinking of which plays you guys were probably going to give me for this today. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick one player from each of the big 4 regions, and to everybody in the YouTube comments like giving me shit for picking a player from NA, shut up. This is the way I'm doing it. I'm from NA. I'm repping some of my boys here. So obviously first and foremost, George Washington is Faker. All right, Faker. If you're having a LoL Esports Mount Rushmore and Faker's not on it, I'm sorry, you're trolling. So Faker is my LCK representative on the LoL Esports Mount Rushmore. From the LPL, I would pick Uzi, the man who essentially like defined the role of AD carry, the man whose team just revolved around protecting him and hyperscaling him and trusting in this man's his mechanics and his talents and his capabilities. From LEC or EU LCS back in the day, all of those things combined, I think I would have to pick Caps. Even though, like, you know, you've got all of these guys from back in the day that have done all this great stuff, and you're looking at like xPeke, who's played that we just saw right now, but it's Caps who, to me, and to a lot of other people, because I've heard this conversation happen tons of times, like, is this guy the best Western player of all time? And a lot of people say, yeah, he is. So from LEC, I would have to pick Caps. And then from North America, I mean, I don't really think there's a conversation about who's the North American GOAT. I think it is undeniably and undisputably Doublelift. So I'm putting Doublelift on up there as my number 4. So that would be my LoL Esports Mount Rushmore, like my big player from every one of the 4 major regions. Faker from Korea, Uzi from China, Caps from EU, Doublelift from North America.
You have just Faker nightmares. You wake up in a cold sweat. You're like, Faker's behind me.
I know, right? I'm like, even though I only have a man on the floor, I think he's in the bed. Oh, Faker may be in trouble here. Deathmark tries to clean it up for Ryu. Oh, look at the cleanse. Look at the moves. Faker, what was that?
Faker with a huge play. The QSS.
I can't believe I just saw
he
that.
actually won that duel.
And there's what I think is also not just the most iconic play, but that, in my opinion, the most iconic call in LoL Esports is Doa's look at the cleanse, look at the moves, Faker, what was that? Like, let's go back and look at the way this fight starts, right? Because Faker's underneath the turret, which is normally not a place you ever want to fight, so he has to fall back from the turret. And in the meantime, Ryu just starts smacking on him, right? Like, you can see he hits him with the Bork, he hits him with the turret shot hits him a little bit there too, and you just, anybody else in that situation, you would just be like, okay, I'm dead. Crap, right? Like, ah, man, got caught there. He jumps in, he goes after him again, and then boom, Faker just, the masterful outplaying, shifting back and forth to the shadows. When I was talking earlier about character power fantasies and a character being played in the way that makes you feel like the main character, that makes you feel cool, that's it for Zed. That is literally what this character is designed to be. He's a ninja that flashes up and takes the place of his shadows, and seemingly he's everywhere and nowhere all at once. And that's exactly what Faker did. And you can see, like, and unfortunately for poor Ryu, this is also a famous part of the clip, is just the reaction afterwards of just looking at the computer like, damn. Because, you know, you look at that and you're like, I should have won that. And unfortunately for Ryu, he was just happened to be up against a guy who would go on to become the greatest League of Legends player of all time. Oh, that can absolutely be nowhere below Skarner tier. All right, that is, unfortunately, there's no way you could ever have as cool of a Skarner versus Skarner 1v1 as that Zed versus Zed 1v1, but it's Skarner tier in my heart. This is a Faker play, but it's also an entire SKT team play. SKT was up against EDG. The score was 9-0 or 8-0, something like that. They were 9,000 gold behind. They had no kills. No kills. Any other team, you're dead in the water. And it ends up, EDG is walking into mid. Bang is on the Twitch. He's invisible. I can still hear it because I was casting it with Papa Smithy and Deficio, and I can still hear Deficio saying, Bang is hiding. And Bang's hiding off to the side, and Wolf snap ults in as Rakan, immediately engages on everybody. They got Huni following up on the Cho'Gath with the silence to make sure that the EDG players aren't able to do a whole lot. and then Faker throws his Orianna ball into the middle of everybody and hits the massive shockwave. It's the Faker shockwave will find them all. Like, that was my first huge major call at an international tournament that people kept messaging me about and remembering. And a lot of people got mad because, oh, you didn't give Wolf the credit in the moment, or you should have praised the Rakan more, and yada yada yada. And later on, I absolutely should have throughout the rest of the cast. But in that moment, and this is why I still defend calling it Faker shockwave will find them all, despite everybody on the team playing a big role, despite Wolf finding the initial engage. Anybody who's played League of Legends for a long period of time has been in one of those games where you're down 10,000 gold or whatever, you're down 20 kills, everything feels bad, and, you know, you get a good engage. Like, you know, your Amumu ulti lands, or Jarvan traps 4 people in a Cataclysm, or whatever. But you're so far behind that it doesn't matter. You still lose even though you found the best fight you could have possibly found. And to me, like, because when I cast games as a fan of League of Legends. I'm not trying to say whatever the most sports broadcastery thing is. I'm trying to say what's actually honest to my emotions and my perception of what's going on in the game. And to me, that comeback became real when that shockwave hit EDG and the health bars just turned red. And so even though everybody on the team played their part perfectly for that to succeed, it was Faker's shockwave deleting everybody's health bars. And as soon as I saw those health bars, I was like, SKT just won this game. Yes, Wolf sets him up. Yes, Huni gives him the assist. But Faker's shockwave found them all. And SKT, with a hell of a response, take down 4. I'll always remember that. Thank you guys so much for watching me react and rank all of these iconic plays throughout the history of LoL Esports. Thank you all for submitting them so that we can go through them and see exactly all of these different moments in memory lane. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and we'll catch you back here real soon.